Oh, Lord, it's good to be here with you, Mr. O'Brien. On this fine New York spring day.
How are you now?
Oh, dear Faith, it's a great day. The flowers are blooming and the nipples are out. Oh, Lord, yes. It's nice when there's just enough sun for the girls to put on the tank tops.
Robin Williams made everyone laugh for 40 years, but there was a man behind every joke cry for help at night. He locked himself in rooms to keep his wife safe. From bad sleep attacks during on-set, he forgot lines he was supposed to say. He hid his watches in socks for decades. Hid them with friends and was sure his makeup artist was being chased. Held him while he cried after each scene. Everyone saw the signs, but no one saw the sickness they found in his brain would make us think differently about everything we knew. That Robin Williams was born on November 21, 1951, at St. Luke's Hospital in Chicago. His life seemed normal at first glance. Robert Williams, his father, was a top manager at Ford Motor Company. His mother Lori had been a fashion designer. The people who lived in the big house had a lot of money and all the comforts of home. Robin's world was everything a child could want. It was cold, and his dad always had to travel for work, and his mother is cute, but being far away kept things formal, not warm hugs. Robin, love was hard to come by and had to be earned. He quickly learned that he could pay attention, he had to be funny. It wasn't impressive that he was just himself. Enough for that lesson to follow him for good when the family moved into at age 12. A mansion with 40 rooms in Bloomfield Hills, the state of Michigan, was very fancy and incredibly lonely with his dad at work and his mother was busy with events. Things that happened. Robin was left alone for hours, sometimes days, when only the staff is there for he had company, but he didn't just sit there and mope. His mind was full of voices he had heard before. Talk to your made-up friends. Characters imitate family members, make up whole worlds in front of the mirror. The house became his own theater. In every room was on stage every echo a joke while Robin was outside while most kids played. His comedy was being performed for ghosts inside. Began there in that quiet house where no one told him what was funny or he didn't figure it out by himself, but Robin wasn't able to get out of school. He was fat, wore glasses, and didn't fit in. His life was terrible because of the bullies. Made fun of him, stole from him, and even hit him. He'd wear torn clothes home, and hurt his pride, but then something changed for him. He saw that they would laugh if he made them laugh. Backed off and stopped hitting, so he leaned into it with a quick joke here and impression there, and all of a sudden he had power and laughter became his shield. Not only kept him safe, but also gave him the more he made people laugh, that he felt safer, and more he was praised for being funny, the more he did until it was the only thing they could do. The best of himself that he knew how to show. Robin didn't just get his funny bones. After being hurt, he also got it from his mother. Lori Williams was very good at timing clever one-liners that could end a one sarcastic look at the conversation. Robin looked at her closely and managed to remember her beats, her pauses, and the way she makes music she's laughed at without being called out. Hear a voice, but he also saw something worse. His mom seemed to get excited only when he was doing if he stopped being Robin. That's funny. Her smile went away, so he figured out how to keep the show going. Always know who you're talking to and read the room. You should be the person who gets thanks. That was a skill that would give him a star and scare him at the same time. Of silence. When he turned 16, everything. The family moved to Tybin, California, and Robin signed up at Redwood. He met drama in high school. Teacher James Dunn saw something that no one else did. Had raw talent that had been buried for years. When Robin joined the drama out of self-defense department and came alive right away. In this case, his voices and characters weren't. It was weird that they were praised. He could finally get the chaos in his head out, what they were into, something real. One moment he'd be amazed by his range. 1 minute a shy British butler, loud New Yorker every time they were asked, became a one-man show for the first time. Robin didn't feel alone at that time. By senior year, he wasn't just he was the drama club's president. He was ready for something bigger. In 1973 Robin shot for it and got in. Through Juilliard, one of the most. He went to one of the best art schools in the world. There were only 2 students accepted to their elite acting program that year, the other Christopher Reeve, but the fame came with a price. Juilliard taught strict acting in the classical style, Shakespeare breathing skills, stage discipline. Robin was a hurricane of thoughts and feelings. He didn't want to follow the rules. Some people wanted to tear them up, but read monologues that he erupted into improv. His school admired his skill, but after 3 didn't know what to do with him. Years he had enough, and in 1976 he dropped. The news shocked everyone who was leaving Juilliard. It was like leaving the Olympics in the middle. But Robin said staying would have taken away his spirit. He needed to be free, not the norm. Back in California, he got into stand-up comedy when took the stage at the Holy City Zoo in San Francisco, and then the Comedy Shop, and he had an electric style in Los Angeles. He didn't just make jokes, he lived them. He was a Russian taxi driver for a moment. The next, an alien who loved disco. He'd voice to voice so quickly that it was like seeing 10 people squished in one. People didn't just laugh because of body fully locked in as they leaned forward. Funny people like George Carlin and Richard W. People before even became aware of Robin wasn't just a good mentor, he was a stormy. People left his shows with he could make faces hurt from laughing so hard. What other people couldn't do in an hour. By 1977, he had moved to Los Angeles. Began performing regularly at the Funny Place on Sunset Strip. That's where TV executives looked for new talent. Gary Marshall found him there. Marshall was already making hits, making shows like Happy Days. During the night he saw Robin, and I knew right away that this guy wasn't just funny, he was different, and they cast him. How Robin Williams's meteoric rise to fame began. The rise began with what looked like a desperate choice for creativity on Happy. Gary Marshall, the producer of Days in 1977, son Scott, who is 8 years old, suggested adding a spaceman to the show after seeing Star Wars. Writers didn't like it. They drew pictures of it, draw straws to see who would write the stupid alien show. But in February 28, 1978, that crazy thought turned into m.i.t was meant to be favorite Orkin. Richie thought it was all a dream. That's when Robin Williams walked in. To try out, he sat when asked, and he did. Marshall said he was the upside down, that one was the only alien who tried out. This moment changed TV history. It's crazy how many people responded. That ABC changed the episode to take out the dream part and make it more real. Just one show led to a full-on spin-off. No, only Moore and Mindy saw it coming. Launched later that year and blew up. When Moore and Mindy first aired on, it was made a national holiday on September 14, 1978. Obsession. In just the first season watched by 60 million people it was the 3rd most in a single week. The most watched show in the U.S. Robin Williams from Happy Days became an overnight star for just $15,000 a episode. He was a good deal, especially for someone who was pretty much a one-man show. The funny storm that hit him in the face. The front page of Time in March 1979 wore more t-shirts and lunchboxes. It was everywhere, coloring books, toys, and more. But the writers were serious behind the laughs. In survival mode, people thought Robin just made up his lines on the spot. Myth made the writers very angry. They joked, "We're up until 4 a.m. I spent the morning writing Robin's improvised lines. I worked like crazy at 10 a.m. to keep up with him until 4 a.m. And some, like David, turned to cocaine." Mish ate sugar. Robin didn't make it up on the spot. He learned the whole script in one sitting. He must have gone crazy during practice. But when the cameras were rolling, he hit every line perfectly. His chaos was right on. In 1980, Hollywood couldn't stay away from him. Williams got his first lead role in a big movie. Popeye. It cost $20 million to make and was shot in Malta, where they built an whole village that still stands as of. The movie made almost $50 at a tourist spot million, but critics didn't like it. Williams. He made fun of how the set was called Stala Galtman. Even though the shoot was hard, it proved he could carry a movie even when neither the script nor the direction worked for him. It wasn't a hit, but star power. Popeye opened the door to the roles that his job's success hunting Mrs. Not sure if Dead Poet Society, but while his career took off, but Something darker was getting to him during the more, and Mindy Williams was using at the time a gram of cocaine every 2 days. Even after telling a doctor about it in 1991, the doctor didn't pay much attention to it because it had become normal to use drugs but his friend saw the damage. A funny man named Mike Binder remembered a time Robin saw a gram in the early 1980s. He asked for a hit in his pocket. Went to the bathroom and came back going back with the vial empty. It only took minutes for others to remember him. Beg before shows got me any attention. I can't do without it, but not like most people. Coke users didn't get him hyped up. Most people get tense on, she told him. Coke slowed me down, he said. For him, cocaine was a place to hide. The shock that changed everything. On John Belushi passed away on March 5, 1982. From overdose on speedball. Robin had been with him the night before at the Chateau Marmont. Belushi looked worn out. Qualids and playing guitar at the same time. Robin told his wife at home that this woman was tough and scary. Lady Kathy Smith would give Belushi an injection. With the drink that killed him, Robin found out the next day on the set of More. Mindy was shocked to see who I was with. Him over and over again last night. The death of John Belushi shook Hollywood. For Robin, that was scary. Look at you. He said she was a little weak. Himself, your little change that he would have been him. The last blow would come if he didn't stop. As a father in April 1983, Robin's Zachary was born 6 months before Williams quickly gave up drugs and alcohol. Go turkey, no rehab, no therapy, and no Betty Ford. A friend told him it was just pure willpower. Just quit, he said later. The Belushi tragedy was scary, and I knew the baby was going to be born. That kind of life isn't good for a father. Of life. Morgan. Mindy was over at that point. His friend had died, and he was about to become a dad. Everything put him on a crossroads where most people fell down. Williams chose to get better, and he stayed. From 1983 to 2003, he was sober for 20 years. Never used drugs or alcohol. Instead, he put all of his need to be addicted energy into. Because of his work, he became one of the loved actors in movies like There Are Dead Poets Society, Aladdin, Goodwill After, Patch Adams, and Mrs. Doubtfire. They were more than movies, they were lifelines. For people that he was a workaholic, but he found another way to get clean. He told people, cycling saved my life. Instead of hiding he rode his bike to calm down after taking drugs. But that level of intensity came with people expected Robin to be under a lot of stress. On all the time, he said in an "You can only be sad," the interviewer said. In private. That kind of life gets you up with anyone. In 1987, the world finally saw how strong he really was. That earlier that year, he played a military radio DJ in Good Morning, Vietnam. It wasn't just with his noise and jokes, he made you laugh out loud. And then hurt you with war. His made-up speech hit me like a punch in the gut. Most radio rants were not planned ahead of time. The director just let him go, and a movie that made $123.9 million around the world on just $13 million plans, and it was the first time in his career, he was nominated for 2 Oscars. After years, he went even further. He turned into Mr. Keating in Dead Poets Society. An English teacher who did more than teach through poetry, he made it matter. Desks whispering quotes from Carpe Diem, Whitman and Thoreau. This wasn't stand-up Robin, this is something else. He spent weeks seeing how real teachers do their jobs, learned more than 200 lines of poetry by heart. The movie made $235.9 million and an Oscar for his second win, but it turned out to be more than that. Teachers saw him as a sign for anyone who has ever wanted to break free, but by 1992, he wasn't even on screen, but his voice shook the same world as the genie in Aladdin. 30 hours of crazy brilliant genius thoughts, improvisations, energy. No animator could guess what movie would be made more than $54.1 million and changed the animation after that. Studios always wanted stars, not just voices but also what goes on behind the scenes. Williams was mad that he had agreed to do the part. For only $75,000, which is a lot less than his usual fee as long as it's not heavy. Disney broke that promise with merchandise. The genie turned out to be one of their, bringing in more than $1 billion in money. Williams never forgot about it. In 1995. 1993, he wore a dress wig and thick Mrs. Doubtfire and a British accent. $441.5 million at the box office. Million around the world, the second biggest movie of the year. Williams sat in a 4-5 hours a day in a makeup chair till he did more than just turn into Euphemia Doubtfire. He changed. He looked at old women in malls, took voice lessons and made up takeout after takeout dinner scene 15 times because he kept making up new lines on the spot. It wasn't just funny, it was a loss of love, caring for kids and being hurt, wrapped in latex and laughs, but nothing hurt more than in the 1997 movie Good Will Hunting. He played a Sean Maguire, was called a quiet man who was sad, helping a genius who was not heard. No fireworks, just scene of stillness. That it's not your fault. It was made up on the spot, and it broke the crowds just like it broke Matt Damon this time. Williams didn't just make the list, and he finally won an Oscar. On March 23, 1998, he went on stage and, "Thank you, Ben and Matt. I need to see some ID." He then left. Was at the top of his game but became famous. Hides dark things in the 2003 movie. In a faraway part of Alaska, he broke. That's how he felt. Alone, cold, and scared. Told them it wasn't the edge of the world, but you could see it from. He went into a store and saw a bottle of Jack Daniels and his that power said, "Just a taste." For 20 years, a single sip meant being sober. He had been sober since 1982. It was gone, and the next 3 years where he worked while drinking in secret. Performing, but he was going crazy inside. He later said he knew inside it was bad. "I bought so many. The first week I made a wind chime sound with my bottles. I just walked down the street," he joked. "Not really," he answered. He had a terrible time for 3 years. Just couldn't stop. His family in 2006 finally stepped in and said, it wasn't gentle, it was a choice. His son Zach later, "I don't know what would have happened if he had kept drinking," she said. Williams says, "I think he'd be alive today. I looked into Hazelden, a top rehab center. A building in Oregon for 2 months. They looked at the truth and then made a new, making a promise to go to AA meetings every week. He let his first, even though there was some recovery in the 1980s. One thing I hadn't thought about was, how, be honest, do you want to live?" he asked. The bills kept coming even as he tried to stay sober. Were squeezing him. 2 divorces, huge settlements that some news stories said he lost $20 to $30 million for his first wife. A month of $50,000 went to Valerie Velarde for life. Just in 1989, she got over $50,000. His second. The divorce was even worse for Marcia Garcia, left him in 2008. Only 2 years after she blamed the stress of his rehab stay on. Williams tried to laugh about his drug use. He used to say that alimony was worth the pain. Comes from a Latin word that means to tear through a man's wallet to get to his private parts. In the end, the money ran out in 2012. He put up for sale his 653-acre Napa Valley estate Villa Srio for $35 million. It had everything: art gallery, library, theater, but it had to go. "I just sold wine." He told Parade that he could no longer afford it. Magazine that he had made more than $130 million in his job, but he was being laid off. To keep living, he was still one of the funny people in the world, but in March 2009 at age 57, Robin Williams almost died while on his Weapons of Self-Defense. He was out of breath during the comedy tour. Doctors didn't just find him tired. His heart was failing, so he had to have open heart surgery. Is really dangerous to your life. Things that the surgeons didn't just change, they fixed his aortic valve as well. Aneurysm, and tried to fix his heartbeat that wasn't regular. This meant stopping, putting anesthesia on his heart, and even putting his body in cold to protect his brain. It was that bad. His brother had died 2 years ago. They had the same surgery. He kept that fear with him during the surgery. It worked, but no one wants to see the scars it left. Could see a lot of these kinds of surgeries cause depression or even PTSD. In some patients have trouble remembering things, or because of the trauma, the brain has changed. The painkillers or small blood clots in the Williams lived, but he was never the same. After 4 years, he tried to do the same thing he should get back into TV with a sitcom. It was called The Crazy Ones, and had a strong launch in 2013. He was in it with Sarah Michelle Gellar, and the ads were "The magic didn't last everywhere." Ratings went down, and by May 2014, the show was no longer on. Ending after only 22 episodes. Williams was really hurt by that. He thought he failed, and now my face is all over town on all of it is on my back, he said. Told a friend behind their backs that he was falling apart and more financial stress to the weight of 2 divorces, and that because the show was cancelled, he had to sell his. He bought a $29.9 million Napa ranch. Heartbroken, ashamed, and unsure of what to do, there were still parts for him to play. Low confidence was setting in quickly on the night at the museum. Secret of the things got worse in the tomb when Robin, forgetting lines that didn't happen before, he would make up whole scenes. He was starting to doubt every take. He would call the boss late at night being asked, "Do I suck? What's going on?" His makeup artist said he looked great. She cried in her arm for days and it didn't help. But no one knew what it was. What was going on in his brain was already being attacked the whole time. His wife Susan learned after the fact that he had Lewis. At the time, no one could diagnose body dementia. Explain why Robin has the sharpest mind, and it was now hard for comedy to speak, or you can see that things were even at home darker. He couldn't sleep, and he was in pain. Fearful night terrors he would have. He would shout, flail, or act out your worst fears so much that he began sleeping in to keep his wife safe in a different room. He locked himself in his room, sometimes son's room, just to keep him from getting hurt anyone by chance. This was more than REM sleep behavior put him to sleep. One of the most obvious signs of Lewis's loss of memory, and the bad nights messed up his days and made his mind a maze. He had panic attacks and scary thoughts. He once put pricey watches in a sock and drove. He took them to a friend's house to keep them safe. He thought people were in danger. He thought someone was following his friends. These paranoid spirals sometimes lasted a long time. He couldn't get away for 48 hours, and even worse, he knew something was wrong. Docs told him in May 2014 that he had Parkinson's disease, but that didn't happen. Tell me everything. He wasn't just shaking, he was having hallucinations and was scared. He kept asking why. He kept forgetting simple things. His doctors, "Am I crazy or what?" They told him he didn't have Alzheimer's, but he did. He felt like they were missing something. His wife told him it felt like kids play whack-a-mole. Every time they got one levodopa caused another symptom to show up. Not much of the main drug for Parkinson's. It helped some people and even made his even worse than they should have been a sign that people with Lewis's body, folks with dementia, don't react well to. Robin got worse while taking her Parkinson's medicine. Of better, more panic, more crazy, more. Susan was scared as she watched the man she loved go away. Some days he was fine, other days frozen and scared. At night, screamed while he was sleeping, and during the day would sometimes stand still and be trapped. He asked himself over and over again if he was sad to say, he was right, he was losing it. Showed more than 40 signs of Lewy body dementia, but no one saw the link. At that time, he was having hallucinations. Lapses, confusion, and delusions, all of them came in waves. 1 minute he was fine. Next, he lost his case. Was so bad in the end, doctors said it was one of the worst thing they had ever seen. Almost every Lewis hurt some parts of his brain. Bodies of clumps of weird proteins that. Robin, you messed up the nervous system. Williams wasn't just sad or tired. He was battling a brain disease that no one else has knew about, a disease that took his confidence and finally his will to live. On August 11, 2014, he was discovered dead in his Tiburon home. He had hanged himself in California with a belt. There were small cuts on his wrist and a pocket knife next to his. Someone found him. He was 63 years old. When Robin Williams died in 2014, the world lost a very bright star. But jokes aside, the charm and the quick wit, something much worse had been getting to him. his last year was a brain fog, paranoia, and hallucinations, worry, insomnia, and sudden issues. No one could figure it out when it moved. Neither did the best doctors he saw. At first, they called it Parkinson's. They were wrong, and then the autopsy happened. What they found shocked everyone. Experts say Robin's brain was Lewis's. Bodies have taken over everything. Large groups of a harmful protein known as alpha. These were not just in one place, synuclein. They were all over his nose, mouth, and ears. Limbic system in his brain stem, and even in the part of the brain that controls emotions and remember. It felt like a wildfire swept through his mind, leaving